Well, I know it might look ridiculous hitchhiking, but I'll have to tell you from my experience, when I dropped out of school, very shortly after I decided to go hitchhiking around the world. Well, not around the world, actually, I only made it through Central and South America. One of the things I wanted to chat about was why I always thought dropping out of school and going traveling was one of the best things you could do. I decided it was a smart idea to jump on the road and go hitchhiking from Canada into Central America. It's actually one of the best decisions I've made in my life, especially when I was younger. It taught me so much. I think experience is one of the overlooking factors of life we don't account for when we think about education. We look at it as education as going somewhere to learn something specific instead of allowing life to be the teacher, where there's really so many variables for how much more we can learn. There's a few key ideas that I think I really jumped out at me at that point. One of the first times I got picked up just outside of Mexico was by a family. So I jumped in the back of the truck and there I was with their little children and some of their chickens. So the family picked me up and drove me from Sayulita to basically Mexico City. I wanted to go visit the Pyramid of the Sun, which is one of the bigger pyramids in Mexico, and I was hitchhiking along the way. I actually used couch surfers a few times as well to jump in and snag free places to stay. I remember going out to the walk in Mexico City and I got lost and I had no idea how to get back. Oh, how much of a difference Google Maps would have made in my life. But some of the big experiences and learning was kind of a trust and a faith in the process itself. So when I decided I wanted to do this crazy, awkward, or do this crazy trip, I decided to start studying about hitchhiking, you know, the things you would need, how to be safe, where to sleep in a tent, etc. And all these random things you might think you'd want to know to have on the road with you, like cook gear, camp gear, tents, all that kind of stuff. So I started studying, I started reading up on all these different websites. I started reading about all these people who'd hitchhiked around the world. They had managed to catch free plane rides, free boat rides. So super excited. And before I managed to leave Canada, a good friend of my parents ended up having to drive down to Mexico because that's where they were moving. So I managed to skip the entire beginning part of hitchhiking through the United States, which was really going to be the part that I was looking forward to the least, because the family offered me basically a free ride to drive their vehicle the whole way. So I ended up driving their vehicle the whole way down into Mexico and basically they covered all the food and all the accommodations to drive their vehicle. So I've always had this deep inkling that when you're kind of on the right path, life is going to support the ideas that you're trying to make, the decisions that you're trying to follow, or the desires that you would like. Now, I did get into one or two kind of sketchy situations, but nothing really. I ended up sitting on the side of the street in different places in Mexico, busking, playing music, working at hostels. I met so many brilliant people along the way. Actually, I ended up meeting one of my really good partners and someone that's become a best friend over the decade now. And those types of learning experiences you can't create in any other way but kind of throwing yourself out in the abyss. And that's what that exercise really was. It's basically for me to be able to go out and find comfort or find support and stability in a place where I knew no Spanish by the time I jumped on the road. Not only my parents didn't just think I was crazy, but imagine all the people driving down some of these back roads in Mexico. So there I was in 2008, and just imagine I'm in Mexico, all these people as they drive by me are looking at this crazy white kid sitting on the side of the street with a didgeridoo and a hand drum. And I wonder what they're thinking to themselves, but I know what I was thinking to myself. I was so fed up with school. I did really, really well in the beginning. I was almost a straight A student in the classes that I liked, math and science. I started studying psychedelics in my spare time. And through that process, I got really excited about what the future of the understanding of psychology and kind of the conscious maps that we were building, and I got way ahead of myself. What I realized is that the school system was never going to support or fund those types of ideas, especially not a decade ago. Now more and more we see that psychedelic studies and research has become commonplace, but when I was in the school system there was not anything like that around, so my best bet was to leave and continue my own education, and that's what I ended up doing. When I was going to Guatemala, a lot of things I was studying were taking ayahuasca, studying music, so I was studying the rhythms of different shamans all through these trips. Some of the world's best musicians, just taking in as much as I possibly could while listening. And my level of experience grew so quickly. Now the first few years my parents looked at me like, what the hell are you doing? Like really, what the hell do you think you're doing? And that was totally fair of them. But the trip for me brought so much learning so quickly that by the time I found my footing, just a few years later, I'm 31 now, I manage a few of my own businesses. I own my own house. I own my own truck. I own all the water and food rights on my property. I have the freedom to do most of whatever I want in my life. And even though it looked kind of fucking crazy to do when I was younger, it made so much sense. And I'm really grateful I did. And for any of you that might be listening and think you're those people, you might be. You might be someone that does better by leaving the traditional education system and just learning and growing through the education and the experience of life. Something that I am deeply grateful for, and that's been pretty much my entire process. Anyways, this was just a short rant today. This was just a short rant today about all the things you could find while you're traveling and learning. Look at this lobster face. I'm sorry. Hold on. Did you drop out of school? Did you decide to go hitchhiking? Did you take any other abstract forms of education? What do you think really pushed you to thrive? Because those are some of the things that drove me further. Realizing that my main support was myself, and that it was characterized by the people that I was surrounded with, which could have been anyone while traveling. I was really putting myself in a vulnerable situation where I had to surrender, you know, waiting sometimes on the side of the road for hours. But it taught me a lot about patience. It taught me a lot about how to communicate with people that you don't know, or that you're not on the same level with. Again, remember while I was doing this, my level of Spanish was just beginning. I remember when we first drove across the border, I thought to myself, oh fuck, what have I gotten myself into? This is trouble. Seeing the border town in Nogales was one of the scariest things. As soon as we got away from the border town, I felt a hell of a lot better about my decision to go traveling, but I tell you, before that, feeling a little weary. Let me know what you guys think with your comments down below. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe if you're new to the Bear Family channel, join our Telegram. I know we've got a lot of mix of content, but this one today, I just wanted to remind everyone that sometimes the best thing you can do is break out against the mold. For me, it was dropping out of school, going hitchhiking and traveling, and I give it 2 thumbs up. Yeah, Steve with the Arcane Bear. See you in a sec.